其实这个数字啊，从去年开始，其实你看啊6个月，你看我们上班的，你看是这样，那5月份，你看我这画，你看5月的这。Yes!
That would be a very dangerous solution, indeed. And what that means is that we can't rely on our economic weight. We, the West, America in particular, can't rely on its economic weight or the charm of its diplomacy to counteract China. It is going to come down to that military contest. And the challenge of deterring China or defeating it is made all the harder by the massive resources, including technological resources, that China can bring to bear. Now, this is a big subject, and I'm going to go over it very quickly. But whereas it would once have been the case that the US would have won a war with China over Taiwan easily and quickly and cheaply, and when I say once, as recently as 2000 or 2005.
To what do I owe this visit?
By 2010, it was coming a bit harder to be confident.
Of course. The fabricator sensor's machine was stopped. Not another soul will be sent into the mouth of the archenemy. In time, we will succeed in uncovering and stopping other schemes of the cult. We dealt a blow not only to the cultists, but to the archenemy itself. I cannot help but be pleased. No servant of the God Emperor has closer dealings with corruption than the agents of the Golden Throne. In its quest to guard the Imperium against its foes' most devious and secret schemes, the Inquisition seeks to understand the essence of evil. It is not enough for us to burn or cut down a rotten seedling. We must study it, understand it, touch it. Every time any of us do our duty, we are risking our very souls. But when it comes to psychers, the soul of a psyker is especially enticing to the archenemy. The cogitator was stopped, yes. I touched an infernal machine that was created to serve chaos. I used it. I delved into the principles of its operation. That was enough. Corruption needs only the briefest brush of contact. When I touched the cult's cogitator, I drew the thousand-eyed gaze of evil upon myself, as any agent does when they interfere in the schemes of those who serve the ruinous powers. And that evil undoubtedly left an invisible mark upon me, as it does on any acolyte who fights against the archenemy. And this will be the case every time I do my duty. I know a good deal about the fates of those who have served the throne before me. Enough to know that my path leads to one place, and one place only. My visit to Aarrgghhh did not produce answers to all my questions, but we did succeed in dealing a blow to the cult by destroying the fabricator sensor's machine. I have directed my spies to track the sect's surviving leaders. I am certain that they will have useful information for us soon. Though small, this is a victory for the Golden Throne, and I have you to thank for it. Thank you for finding the time for our conversation.
May the Exalted One protect you. Oh.
The Omnissiah knows all, comprehends all. I have destroyed it. This statement is true. I am yet to settle into a definitive course of action. I am running a spot diagnostic on the memory of the heretic Demens. Even though purity protocols stipulate that his blasphemous knowledge must be eradicated, I am not drawn toward forbidden information, but only to data concerning the blessed Amanats. The success has been partial. Demens Haneman's identity has been confirmed. The widespread influence of paranoid motivations is observable in his cognitive processes, which is what seems to have caused him to break his vows. However, extensive regions of his memory have been damaged by forbidden technologies and are, for now, defying decryption. An echo of the warp. Energies of the immaterium that had seeped into real space and taken the shape of a Vox signal. I have found recorded cases of similarly induced corruption in the archive. Listening to the void is a perilous occupation. The quest for knowledge is our mission of highest priority. But what Demens promised was not knowledge, but a distorted copy of it. This was not what the Deus Mechanicus had told us to seek. The data discovered is unreadable. It is encrypted, albeit only partially, and I hypothesize that the heretic Demens was attempting to decrypt it. I will take every effort to extract a larger volume of data. Information pointing to the unit referred to as the maimed hunter is alleged to be of critical significance. Whether knowledge can be profane is the grand question. Lay people find comfort in the delusion that knowledge is merely information. That, in and of itself, it is harmless, and only turns dangerous when it falls into the hands of the wicked. But that is not what I have seen. I have seen knowledge gnaw away at the minds of those who let it inside them. Yet I seek it regardless. Why? Perhaps because there really is no apostasy in knowledge. It is dangerous, yes, but not forbidden. For it was created by the Omnissiah. dynamism in every machine spirit. The Omnicide is always with me, for he is within me. And yet, his signals to us do contain contradictions, or else we have accepted a faulty interpretation of them. Response? Affirmative. The decryption will continue with diligence and caution. May your labors be effective and fruitful.
Hello, Talk. Greetings.
Words cannot describe how I have enjoyed your...
By 2010, it was becoming a bit harder to be confident. But today, actually, it's very easy to be confident. The United States cannot win a war with China over Taiwan because the Chinese have very effectively developed the air and maritime capabilities to deny the United States the capacity to project power that was around Taiwan, which they used to take for granted. worth making the point, be the first great power war since 1945. First war between, serious war between two great powers. We've had little border clashes, but no serious war between two great powers since 1945. It'll be the first maritime war since 1945. And it will be the first significant war between nuclear powers. Two nuclear powers ever.
The future of AI-powered ITSM is here! AI catches incidents early and tells you where to act first. AI brings context to the surface, identifies the right people to swarm quickly, then finds the root cause. So that incident won't happen again. Suffering from bad service management?
Two nuclear powers ever. We get little border clashes between India and Pakistan, but we haven't had anything nearly as serious as this would be. So it will be a very new, big, different war. And it's a war that I think we can very clearly say America cannot win as a conventional conflict. Now, notice I says it can't win. It doesn't mean they lose it. You can't beat America that way, but you can't beat China either. They fight one another to a standstill. They do it quite quickly. I think it only takes a couple of weeks. It will be extremely costly. America would lose lots of aircraft carriers if they dared to deploy any into the theatre. Lose lots of aircraft, lose lots of ships. China would lose a lot of aircraft and a lot of ships and would have its bases in the mainland of China attacked. So both sides would find themselves after a couple of weeks bloody but unbowed and very angry. And both would ask themselves, how can we break this stalemate? And although there's quite a complex argument underpinning this, I think it's pretty clear that two sides both conclude that nuclear weapons provides the only option. And both sides, I think, would be seriously tempted to go nuclear. One of the things that's happened in the era of uncontested US primacy is that we've forgotten about nuclear weapons. With the end of the Cold War, the nuclear confrontation eased. Cold War nuclear confrontation. But the nuclear weapons didn't go away. Their numbers reduced. But the arsenals are still easily big enough to cause an unimaginable catastrophe. And I think there's a very real chance, and I think it's pretty clear to decision makers on both sides, there's a very real chance that because neither side can win a conventional conflict, both sides would feel impelled to go nuclear relatively quickly.
Keep your wits about you.
Every
last one of you.
The most important implication is that means it's very hard to deter China from having a go, because that is risking a military attack on Taiwan. Because it's hard to persuade the Chinese that America would start a war that it can't win, and would start a war that won't go nuclear. And by going nuclear, I mean including nuclear attacks on US cities over an issue like Taiwan. And one of the key reasons for that is the deep asymmetry of resolve on the two sides. This is one of the reasons why the present confrontation in East Asia, and I might say in a different way, the present confrontation in Eastern Europe is different from the Cold War. What made the Cold War so stable in retrospect is that the two sides had and recognised that the other side.
My place is at the fort.
The two sides had very equal resolve. The Soviet Union was absolutely determined not to give an inch to the Americans.
I'll see to it personally.
Not to give an inch to the Soviet Union, and they both knew.
At your beck and call.
Any attempt to disturb the status quo between them by the
Victory is imminent.
physical terms, for example, in the Cold War, the Iron Curtain border between East and West running down the middle of Europe, any attempt to violate that even the smallest half a dozen tanks moving one side or the other would immediately bring them to the brink.
I have read tomes of military tactics.
But that's because the scale of the stakes during the Cold War was so great, because it was absolutely unambiguous that there was a zero-sum outcome between two powers. There's no resolution that says you're going to end up with a Cold War with 2 hours, and that odd black block where I thought there was going to be a unipod headed by the Soviet Union or a unipod headed by the United States. And that made the result very, very powerful.
It's as good as...
Because the US finds it very difficult to accept the idea that China will become the world's biggest.
I'll see to it personally.
China's economy cannot be stopped. And China's
I'll make it happen.
We will be dead of the US and EU combined.
On it.
Its internal market will be enormous. And
I'll make it happen.
Whether we're in China or outside China, will be
It's as good as done.
In the old days, if I tell Malay friends in Singapore to get their children to study Mandarin, I would cause offense. Today,
Faith without deeds is worthless.
And I tell them that Anifa's children all study Chinese. Anifa's youngest brother study Chinese. Ask him why, son. He said because his father saw the wisdom that his father
I'll do it.
was able to see. And so I called my driver.
As the Emperor commands, I act.
Your son came to study Chinese. Whether or not he
Doubt is for the weak.
But I knew I would.
As the Emperor commands, I act. I'll do
This is
it.
the reality of all of us in civilization. China has already become our trading partner. This year, by
Faith
that
without deeds is
ASEAN
worthless.
and China will reach $1 trillion. More than US-China trade, more than US-Europe trade, more than US-Europe trade. And it will continue to diverge.
Nothing I can't do.
I tell my American friends,
Not a problem for me.
the more our Chinese account
Oh,
grows,
too easy.
the more we want diversification. Because we don't want China to have too much leverage over us.
Already done.
Slice of
Nothing
bread,
I
which
can't
side
do.
is more butter. So the choice is obvious. But if the Americans don't focus, then naturally we welcome the Americans. The Americans, you don't need to pay a cent for the Belt and Road. But everywhere along the Belt and Road,
I've faced worse than this.
unstable is their policy. Some of us. This is not wise. I don't think you can sabotage the Belt because this is in the interest, in our interest. The Indonesians, now they have swoosh connecting Jakarta to Bandung. And everybody says, yes, we must connect Jakarta to Surabaya by fast rail. This will completely transform Java. Completely. And change its economy. It is more than half of Indonesia's population.
I'm not accustomed to being ordered around.
Does it mean the Indonesia will be in China's pocket? I don't think so. The Indonesians have a very profound sense of themselves.
If only that were possible.
And we will not be in China's pocket.
I am a navigator, not a servitor.
We're not yet ready. And ASEAN solidarity is extremely important. And yes, there are problems from time to time, but always have a higher view. And year by year, among officials, among ministers, among the leaders,
Not a problem for me.
Cupid mayonnaise. Isn't this a job for the serfs? Me? If you insist, Lord Captain.
leaders, there is a great sense of kinship because we meet very often. We share meals
Lord Captain!
endlessly. We're always talking, we're always arguing. And feeling that vis-a-vis
That
the
is
major
for the
powers,
weak.
they better get together. The US talks about Indo-Pacific. So our nose tells us something fishy.
Guided by faith.
So we have a own view of Indo-Pacific. when the organized squad occurs,
genius at
instinctively we
work.
feel uneasy. Better maintain ASEAN centrality, not based on strength, but on the fact that we are neutral. And we are friendly. So Trump
Let's
see
unpredictable downfall.
second time in
A wicked
the
thought.
ASEAN Regional Forum, where North Korea, South Korea, Japan, Russia, US, China,
Schemes within the scheme.
they may not look at each other, but they sit around the same table. So when the G20 was held in Bali last year, I thought we did a fantastic job.
How mere pain won't stop me.
Encouraging everybody to be polite and courteous to one another. And so,
A tactically sound approach.
creating the atmosphere for very successful conversations and outcomes.
Indeed.
In my musings,
At your beck and call.
touched on a number of these issues. Not from the viewpoint of a grand plan or strategy or idea, but through
It will be done.
experiences, scattering a few points on the
I will
graph.
do my duty.
Others will scatter other points on the graph. And when we look at all those points, a picture emerges. The picture is we are in the great transition to a multipolar world. The Western tide which has dominated our lives for centuries. That tide is now receding. And we are seeing a multipolar world emerging. China, Russia, India, Europe, Brazil, the US of course, the Middle East. All insisting on their own sense of identity. In the Middle East, an Islamic renaissance
I'll see to it personally.
to emerge. A great sense of Islam's own history, statecraft.
A wicked thought.
Carving out the Ottoman realm. Yes, we inherit the problems, but we will find our own destiny. You know, in 1945,
Who if not me?
after Yalta, Roosevelt, on his way back,
I don't need luck. I have strategy.
stopped by the Suez Canal.
Consider this a taste of what's to come.
Talking to Abdul Aziz, the first king of Saudi Arabia. All the subsequent kings are Abdul Aziz's sons. And out of those meetings, a critical agreement emerged that in return
I'll do
for
it.
the US protecting the kingdom, oil will be denominated in US dollars. And that anchored the primacy of the US dollar as a global reserve currency and gave the US seniorage
As the Emperor
the
commands,
ability
I
to print
act.
money to finance its military bases and its deficits. Abdul Aziz's grandson MPS
Nothing I can't do.
is taking a different view
All
of the
too
US.
easy.
The US no longer needs Saudi oil, but they worry about oil prices. Cutting oil is immediate, whether it is safe or not. The possibility of a 19th century response to what is happening here will be discussed on the sidelines, if not at the main conference itself. Iran is putting the spur on Saudi Arabia by constantly calling for oil and food.
I'm not injured. I'm enraged.
That catch me wave. And US response observe. Here in ASEAN, we must have a modest view of ourselves. We are not deadly, but if we clump together, we are special because everybody can convene here and talk here. Even in the year 19
Emperor, deliver us.
they met at Aarrgghhh Mansion in Singapore to have an agreement. So Southeast Asia has
I'm not accustomed to being ordered around.
dibawa angin. Maybe it is the kuih-kuih, I don't know. This is a shock turns out I was only walking half the position. I think the quiz will
Let's see.
To see the results I was looking for.
A genius.
At the end of it, it told me exactly how many steps I needed to detect alien.
Let's see.
It's a big change, and I feel so much better. Just tap the link below, take the quiz yourself, and see how many steps you need to take before you get to where you want to be.
A wicked thought.
Follow my lead.
I agree with most parts of that what you have said, Mr. Mahbubani, and Stefan Aus was not far from
At your beck and call.
The one question I would have put on you,
Indeed.
Mr. Mahbubani, is that, and you're diagnosed that most
At your
countries,
beck and
for
call.
example in Asia, looking on the Road and Belt Initiative and on the vaccination of the Indonesian president, don't have any mistrust towards China. But my question would be, is it justified to trust in China? So my question would be, if you have, for example, deeper economic trade relations,
I'll see to it personally.
would there be
War is my muse. Ooh, another scar to my collection.
by China since the
Shocking me.
My
Isn't
question
this a job for the serfs?
I agree what you have said in regard to the United States.
I'll paint your
they
death
don't like
in
the idea
colors.
that China could become number one, and they battle
Schemes
this idea
within
by words.
schemes.
But on the other hand,
See.
as you mentioned some minutes ago, the Biden administration always has said
A
we
genius.
stay on to the one China policy, and even the Trump administration never has crossed out this one
wicked.
China policy. Where do you
Let's
see
see. Another one is shattered.
preparations also from the United States that they
A
really would
wicked thought.
fight this idea that China would become number one. I don't see this development up to now, and you're right. I would agree. If
Be careful not to cross
United
my
States would
gaze.
take any steps to battle China becoming number one, that could be a very dangerous situation. But up to now, I personally don't see this development. Maybe you can give us some explanation how this could develop and happen in your view. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first question on trust. The second question, how United States is blocking China's rights. But I hope, by the way, you all have questions
On it.
for Stefan too. This is a real privilege to have Stefan out.
My gut tells me it's a bad idea.
Pleasure to have him. So let's engage him and get his wisdom too. Well, I'll answer your question first. On the question of trust, I want to emphasize that as someone who practiced
Faith
diplomacy
without
for 33
deeds is
years,
worthless.
I'm just an old-fashioned realist. Okay, and I believe that countries have no permanent friends, no permanent enemies. They only have interests. And most countries in the world
I'll do it.
do business with China, whether or not they trust or distrust China is irrelevant. The question is whether or not you can do business. with
As the
China.
Emperor
To give
commands,
you a
I
good
act.
example, right? Take Brazil, for example. Right? In the year 2000, it took Brazil 1 year to export $1 billion to China. Now it takes Brazil 60 hours.
Suits my
to export $1
purposes.
billion to China. So whether they trust China or distrust
Nothing I
China,
can't do.
they'll do business with China. Let's be very clear. This is what most countries in the world. So the trust in international relations among most countries in the world. And you mentioned, by the way, a case of China bullying. I want to say that the idea of a benevolent superpower is an oxymoron. All great powers will exert their interests, and all great powers will police most things. whether it's Russia, whether
Me?
the United States.
If you insist, Lord Captain.
Tried and tested tactics are the best ones.
And if you want a complete example, Joseph Stiglitz, the Nobel laureate,
If I may.
has given a classic example when Ethiopia was very, very poor.
It will be done. To death!
Paid a loan early to American banks because the interest rate was too high.
We'll rule the stars themselves.
Paid to the U.S. Treasury, the U.S.
Just a minor setback.
Poorest countries in the world, Ethiopia, because Ethiopia paid off American banks too early. So that's a simple example of all great powers behave in a certain way, and we have to accept that. That's a reality. Now, on your second
I
point
will do
about
my
how we
part
learn
to
things
yourself.
from China, I can tell you that there is a powerful, deep consensus in Washington, D.C. that China has to be stopped. Now, first phase was the trade. You see that. And what's interesting is that Biden, as you know, doesn't agree with Trump on anything.
I will bathe this battlefield in righteous fury!
On China. That's one instrument they're using. Number two, technology. There's a massive
I'll do it.
technology war has begun. And therefore,
Faith without
the United
deeds
States
is
will see
worthless.
which are the areas in which it can maintain an edge in technology and ensure that China never catches up. And China will try its hardest to catch up. So the big technology race has begun. Right? Then number three,
I am a navigator, not a
that
servitor.
countries are pushed or nudged to step by the United States.
I need!
You've seen that with Australia, you've seen that with Japan, and that's what's going to be a very hard push. So you're going to be ready.
Within
And you are suddenly to make a choice. A simple example is Huawei.
A wicked thought.
Right? Many countries have wanted to buy Huawei because it's cheaper. Guess what? You buy
A genius at work.
some pressure. I can tell you in my last Davos meeting, 2020, and I was talking to a group like this, to a group of
Another stroke of genius!
and the person next to me, I cannot mention his name.
Wicked thought. A new note in discordant melody.
And I asked him the question about Huawei. He says, Kishore, the UK
Emperor,
has
deliver
some
us!
of the best intelligence
keep my
options open.
Right, it's true. He says, we have planted our people in Huawei.
How
We have
dare
stopped
you?
everything. Huawei is not a threat to us. I said, hang on a second. Washington, D.C. will call you. This British gentleman, I like this. Kishore, who do you think, we are? Right? Of course, UK is going to stand independent. January 2020. July 2020, UK capitulated. That's the
Validating an idea felt like rolling the dice. No clear path, no guarantees. But Axio's AI validates my concept. Scans suppliers globally and pinpoints cost-optimized options, data-backed strategies, every step of the way. Turn ideas into reality. Try Axio today.
I'd like to go hunting.
Rise to the top, or get left in the dust.
What advice do you seek?
That's how it's done. Let us not dawdle.
We should deal with this.
Duty
Always
prevails.
keep your eye on the prize.
Experience. Nothing matters more.
啊，我知道，是，我知道，行，慢慢玩。
Keep your wits about you.
I did it?
I always keep my options open.
I've read about this.
Rise to the top, or get left in the dust.
Nothing escapes my sight.
Failure is just a temporary setback.
Never doubt me.
Is there money to be made? I always get the job done. always keep your eye on the prize. Let us not dawdle.
What a shame.
Keep a sharp eye.
The Emperor favors me today.
Keep your wits about you. Success is the only outcome I accept.
I guide humanity between the stars.
I always have a backup plan. Your arrogance will be your downfall.
I'm not accustomed to being ordered around. I never try to paint it black. Me? If you insist, Lord Captain.
I'll brush this off. It's as good as done. I'll make it happen. Who if not me? On it.
am not your Xenos pet, monkey. I will cry no tears for you. I understand your intent. Fortune favors the swift. If I must.
As the Emperor commands, I act. Doubt is for the weak. I'll do it. Faith without deeds is worthless.
Stabbed in the back. Unsurprising.
I'll do it. Power resides in the will of the righteous. Eradicated. Doubt is for the weak.
Help me, Lord Captain! If I may.
Reduced to dust. At your beck and call.
I move swiftly to strike.
I am a navigator, not a servitor.
For the throne's glory. Inelegant, yet effective. But of course, Lord Captain. Naturally. I'll see our foes obliterated. Let's see to it. I'm done with this one. For the throne's glory. Be gone. But of course, Lord Captain. Let's see to it.
It will be done. One fewer target. Victory is imminent.
Try to die with grace, at least.
At your beck and call. I've seen worse battles than this in my time.
I'll make it happen.
Isn't this a job for the serfs? Me? If you insist, Lord Captain. If I may.
It's as good as done. I'll see to it personally. I'll make it happen.
This tedium has been... If it serves your cause.
Focus, Van Callux. Focus.
No! These ruby flashes are choking me!
As the Emperor commands, each strike is a prayer. Faith without deeds is worthless. I'll do it. Eradicate it.
High momentum.
As the Emperor commands, I act. I'll do it.
Brace yourself, Abelard.
Step aside. The navigator is coming. I'm not accustomed to being ordered around.
For Von Valancius! It will be done. Reduced to dust! I will do my duty. An exemplary strike. I've suffered worse. It will be done. My place is at the fore.
I'm afraid not. I am a navigator, not a servitor.
I need a foothold. Naturally. Reckoning is due. For the throne's glory. But of course, Lord Captain. I won't object to it.
At your beck and call. Target well struck. I'm not interested.
I'll see to it personally.
It will be done. I will do my... What? You a target!
Is there money to be made? That's how it's done.